Good morning.
I use it.
You are wanting to make trouble already, aren't you?
Well, her computer's wants a relaunch.
We'll just use Mike's recording. All is well.
Okay, cool.
All is well? We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? You're knowing what you are wanting? Is it moving about? You want a new computer? Interesting, it is. It is a new computer. A new update to the software. A dumping of all the old preferences. And still it misbehaves.
Something wrong with that picture.
And it is the science of deliberate creation that you teach? Is this what you mean? Well, they pride themselves in all of the redundancies that they have. In other words, they have backup plans, B, C, D, and E, for everything. So when one of the pins that holds the car onto the bus when they tow it mysteriously disappears in the night, no problem, there's a drawer full of them. And the fact that there is a drawer full of them makes them shine bright as the car that's best to take one from. In other words, some poor person has lost their pin. They can't tow their car. They're desperate. It's early morning. What will I do? And Jerry Nestor's car says, pick me, pick me, pick me. Well, the universe is always giving you what is a perfect vibrational match to where you are. And if you didn't really like to help people get their keys out of their locked car, you wouldn't carry a hanger under your car seat, would you? In other words, what you plan for or what you expect, expectation is a very powerful thing. And what happens to most of you is you're trained into your expectations without even knowing that you are. In other words, your application unexpectedly quitting on your computer program after it happens a few times and you've tried everything you can think of to stop it, you just come to expect it to happen again. And so it takes some deliberate intention to move into a new place. Jerry and Esther were sitting in Asheville, North Carolina last week, and they went to the Biltmore Estates, one of their favorite places to be, and they went to the duck pond, one of their favorite places to be at, one of their favorite places to be, and watched the geese at the duck pond. It's strange that way. And they remembered their first time there and the lift that it gave them. And Jerry was chatting with us. He wanted to know, what is it about first-time experiences that often give you such a lift that then the second time not so much, and the third time not so much, and the fourth time not so much? And we explained to him that sometimes, as you move through your life experience, you can come across a new experience that just by observing it, it takes you into alignment with what you want. In other words, through life, you have been creating this vortex of most wanted. You've been throwing rockets of desire because of the synthesizing of life that you've been doing into this vortex of creation, and law of attraction has been amassing, assembling all cooperative components. So you have quite a vibrational legacy or future experience or present non-physical you might say, to live up to. So when you are moving through your life and you come across a new experience that matches many of the components that are already in your vibrational escrow, components like it's beautiful or it feels good or there are nice people there or it's stimulating or fulfilling. Sometimes you just walk into those experiences, and often, if it's a first-time experience, you go right into your vortex. You feel the lift of that just from your simple observation. But a most interesting thing, that simple observation took you there, and because a simple observation of what is took you there, now you begin to rely on simple observations to take you there again and again. But you can't have another first-time experience. You have to focus yourself into alignment. So what we're getting at is, it's the reason that so many people find a lover and then get tired of them, and then find another and get tired. And there's always that lift in the newness because just the observation was enough to take you into alignment. But if you want to stay in alignment without needing to constantly look for new first time ever experiences, in other words, pretty soon you've climbed the highest peak, pretty soon you've ridden the fastest river, pretty soon you've been on the wildest horse. And we're not just talking about your relationships. In other words, what happens is you have to keep focusing yourself into alignment, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. We want you to understand the whole picture of creation. We want you to understand who you were coming in. You were non physical energy before you came into this body. And even though a part of that consciousness is projected and focused in this physical body that you know as you, this non physical you still exists in non physical. You are predominantly non physical energy vibration. And even though some of that energy is focused in the physical being that you know as you are two aspects of a vibrational being. There is the non-physical vibrating you, and there's the physical vibrating you. And these two vibrational aspects are playing off of one another constantly. And every waking moment, you have the potential of aligning with who you really are or not, of allowing or resisting, of feeling good or feeling not so good. In other words, your emotions let you know how well you're doing with that blending. So as you are here focused in this physical body, you are exploring contrast. And in this exploration, you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And out of that brilliant variety, you are, whether you know you are doing it or not, you're honing a vibrational creation. You send these rockets of desire, and the source within you literally absorbs and becomes and vibrationally reflects every newly amended detail that you offer. So here is this larger vibrational aspect of you and law of attraction responding to it, which we're not kidding you at all. Law of attraction causes a veritable vortex of attraction to take place. There is a spinning and a coming together to a focal point of your creation. And the thing that we most want you to understand is that that creation that is your creation is actually you. It's you in your improved body. It's you in your improved well-being. It's you in your ever-improving prosperity, your ever-improving clarity. It is the ever-improving you in your life experience that you are putting vibrationally into this vortex. And as that larger part of you becomes it, we've written a book, named it the best thing any book was ever named, Ask and It Is Given. And what that book says is that when life causes you to ask, it is given in the fullest sense of the word. In other words, the larger part of you becomes it and radiates a signal that you can't miss. Oh, you cannot move toward the signal, but you can't miss it. And by that we mean, when you move toward it, you don't miss it as you feel wonderful. When you move away from it, you don't miss it as you feel awful. In other words, you can't miss it. You can't miss the signal. It's always radiating, and every emotion that you feel, no matter how bold or subtle, no matter how good feeling or bad feeling it is, every emotion that you feel is your indicator about this relationship between these two vibrating aspects of you. So when your life causes you to ask for more money, as you do often and regularly and have done for a very long time, there is a newly created, newly amended, ever-evolving, prosperous version of you pulsing and calling you home, so to speak. And when you allow yourself to think a thought that matches it, like things are going well, or I appreciate my life, or I appreciate this, or I'm looking forward to that, then you move in the direction of it, and your indicator, your emotional indicator, lets you know you're moving in the direction of your expanded becoming. But when you are noticing that you don't have enough, when you are beating the drum of unfairness, when you feel the injustice of it, when you're jealous of someone else who has it, when you're feeling the disappointment of the lack of the abundance, as you focus in those places, you hold yourself vibrationally out of range of the you that you have created that is prosperous. In other words, those contradictory thoughts to who you have become literally pull you apart. And every negative emotion that you feel, slight or big, is about that. And as you posture yourself in an attitude that contradicts who you have become, as you do that, what happens is it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You don't ever need to worry because both aspects of you must expand. There is no standing still. And whatever you are giving your attention to is getting bigger. So the source within you is holding attention upon who you really are and what you really want, and that's becoming a stronger and a stronger and a stronger force in your experience. And if you're contradicting that by continuing to complain, by continuing to focus upon what is, then what happens is the contradiction between you and you just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until your indicator becomes more than an emotion. It becomes a physical sensation, a pain, an illness, a truck running over you. In other words, the evidence, whatever you're living, is always an example of a vibration you've got going on. So that's why when something happens, like something that matters, like a recording, now, as we said, this is still being recorded. It won't be a problem to you, just a little more work for everyone involved here. But the recording is being made, even though the easiest way to make it has pooped out. We're not pointing at Jerry, we're pointing at their computer. And this is about the fourth time in about 7 seminars that this has happened somewhere along the way. And so what we want you to gather through Esther's learning experience over this, because we're going to talk to her about this because you all have experiences like this. We want you to understand that when something happens that you don't want, you put an equal and proportionate what you do want into your vibrational creation, into your vortex of creation. So you just have to know that because of the intensity of this and the wanting of this, there is a solution brewing here in this vortex. A solution that many of you sitting here listening are thinking, I know, I know, I know, I know. There is a solution already brewing. Now, there is some sort of electrical glitch that is happening. We'll just let her know. It's the cable in. It's giving her computer an unexpected jolt. Not the computer, it's the cable. But the reason that we are only telling them now is this is the first time that Esther has been in the vortex while we've been talking about this. And what we want you to understand is that when you are in the midst of a problem, you are not a vibrational match to the solution. So you can't find the solution. You've got to get into the vortex. Well, how do you get into the vortex when you are in the midst of a problem? Well, you have to imagine the solution. But it's hard to imagine the solution when you're trying to solve the problem because the problem seems like it deserves your attention. Esther will say to her brilliant, almost capable of fixing anything but that IT man back in the office in San Antonio, we've got to get to the bottom of this. We cannot continue to have disruption in our seminars. It's very embarrassing, she says to Mark. It's embarrassing when Abraham has barely come in and then Jerry says, Abraham, would you please bring Esther over here? We need to restart the computer. So Mark, Esther will say, we really have to get to the bottom of this. We must get to the bottom of this. I'm counting on you to get to the bottom of this. Will you get to the bottom of this? Will you get to the bottom of this? Will you get online? Will you read some user groups? Will you find out if anybody else is having any of this trouble? Will you see if you can isolate what the trouble is and find out what the solutions are and tell me and I'll do them? Because really, Mark, we've got to get to the bottom of this. We've got to get to the bottom of this. We've got to get to the bottom of this. Familiar? We've got to get to the bottom of this. We've got to root out this problem. We've got to dig into that computer and find those pesky preferences, and we've got to throw them in the trash, and we've got to obliterate them forevermore. We've got to rid ourselves of whatever the gremlin is that's giving us what we do not want. It's so important to me. It's so important to me. It's so important to me. And we say, you just can't get there from there. And you can't hire anybody smart enough to get you there because they can't buck your current. His hair is blown back by the forcefulness with which Esther pleads for solution, you see. We're exaggerating only slightly.